This is TWiT.
All right, so let's start off with one of these exclusives here. I put at the top of the news rundown Android 12.1, although you do specify in your write-up about this, Mishaal, that it could not be 12.1. We haven't seen a point release in Android in quite some time, I think since Oreo. But nonetheless, like whatever Google calls it, this would be the update that comes after the update that we're all expecting to happen sometime in the next couple of weeks. We're going to get the official release of Android 12. That's going to come at the head of whatever the device announcement is for the Pixel 6 and the 6 Pro and anything else Google has up its sleeve. Android 12.1 is the thing that comes after the thing that we're waiting for, which is kind of impressive that you have as much insight into it as you do. So, you know, you called this a hands-on, which it really was. You've got video. You did what XDA does so well. You took this thing that nobody thought they'd see yet, and you brought it to life because you know how to work the code behind the scenes to make that happen. So, so that's amazing. Obviously, this is focused mostly on foldables, I would say. But from your perspective, since you're the one that wrote all of this exclusive up and you did the hands-on, like what would you say are the standout features, maybe a couple of the features that really kind of catch your attention and make you think like, okay, this means something going forward?
So I'd say the number one standout feature in Android 12.1 is the new Taskbar. It's a feature you see all the time in various desktop operating systems, Windows, Mac OS, etc. That little bar at the bottom that has your apps that you can launch just by clicking on it. That seems to be in the works for 12.1. And wow. In Android, you'll be able to tap on app icons to launch them, long press, and then drag and drop to one of the sides to open split screen view. And you'll also be able to dock it by long pressing on the taskbar. So it's not like a groundbreaking feature, but Android for the longest time has had rudimentary support for large screen devices like tablets and now big screen foldables. And this operating system update is laying the groundwork to better support those kinds of devices.
I think that was one of my primary questions after kind of reading through this is, a recurring topic on this show, and actually we have an email later that's exactly about this, is Google's, creating the tablet ecosystem on Android and then completely and not supporting it at all, to the point to where now, and we've gotten some emails to correct us and say, hey, there's actually a lot of tablets out there. There may be, but it's pretty obvious that Google's kind of priority is not around the tablet experience. It's always been around the phone, primarily between phones and tablets. Tablets have always sat in the back seat and not got the attention that they deserve. So obviously this update seems very focused on foldables, but in essence, that also sounds like this is what you're saying. It also seems to address some of the shortcomings of tablets. Do you think this could be, part of Google's strategy is maybe a revitalization of the tablet, their tablet efforts, or really it's just all about the foldables because we know about the Pixel Folds that are on the horizon?
So I still think that Google doesn't really care about tablets at all. But to be fair, the work they're doing to improve the experience on foldable phones directly translates to an improved experience for tablets. Because as you can see in a lot of the images and the videos that I posted, a lot of those features will work just as well on a tablet as they would on a big foldable. There's functionally no difference between the Galaxy Z Fold 3 when it's unfolded versus the tablet besides the aspect ratio. The Z Fold 3, even Android treats it as a tablet whenever it's unfolded. It's considered a tablet by apps. Certain apps like Google Chrome open in tablet mode where you can see the tabs up top. So it's basically just a tablet. And all of these features that are being worked on for 12.1, even though they're aimed at foldables, they'll also translate really nicely to tablets. And even though Google doesn't really care about tablets very much, I think we're definitely seeing like a resurgence in tablets, like in the Android ecosystem. A few years ago, there was just Samsung and the occasional Huawei tablet. But now you have like some really high-end premium tablets from Xiaomi, the Xiaomi Pad 5 series, You have Realme doing their first tablet. You have Motorola about gearing up to announce their first tablet. You have HMD Global announcing the Nokia tablet. Like they're teasing that for next week. So there's a whole bunch of tablets that are coming to the ecosystem, and it seems like people are finally listening. And Google, even if they're not directly addressing the tablet ecosystem, the changes they're making will definitely help.
And Jason, wasn't I saying this a couple of weeks ago or very recently, like with the foldables and things like that, that it's essentially, we are seeing a odd tablet resurgence with foldables, right? Because this is what they're doing. And so Mishaal, I think it's really interesting that you say that you don't think Google gives a darn about tablets, but they do give a darn about foldables because they're adjusting for it, and it's basically the same. So I think these things could bode well for tablets because we are seeing a resurgence in tablets. So
yeah,
I definitely agree.
We could really see that translate. And one thing that stood out for me also in reading through your hands-on was the part about open sourcing the Monet wallpaper theming engine. Talk a little bit about that. What's notable about that? Why is that notable?
So, if for those of you who are unaware, in Android 12, there's a new theming engine that's codenamed Monet. You might see it publicly described as dynamic colors. What happens is that the theme system extracts colors from your wallpaper, and it generates a palette of rich pastel colors that are then applied to various parts of the system UI, and those colors are exposed to apps through an API that they can use to apply to their own user interfaces. So whenever you apply a wallpaper in Android 12 on a Pixel device, a lot of Google apps will apply that same color scheme to their own UIs, and you'll also see that same color scheme applied to the settings, to the quick settings panel, etc. The caveat, though, is that this only works currently on Pixel devices because Google's algorithm for generating a color palette based on the colors that are extracted from a wallpaper is currently proprietary. It's not included in the open source repository for Android 12. However, that's going to change in the future because the Monet theme engine will be fully open sourced with the release of 12.1. It's currently included in Google's internal source code repositories, which is not public yet. But once 12.1 is publicly released, then that source code will be public as well.
So then any device that's released or that upgrades to 12 that isn't a Pixel device prior to this, are they not going to be able to play with the dynamic theming? That's just an interesting revelation to me because that's so much of what I identify Android 12 as being. That's such a critical component of it. But if it's just that's Android 12 for Pixel devices right now, that's kind of a different story. I mean, it certainly sets Pixel devices apart, but are they going to be able to play in this playing field before this update, do you think? Or is that going to be off limits to them?
So Google's Monet theming system is definitely a critical component of Material U, which is Google's new design language.
Right.
As for how it will appear on devices from other smartphone makers, that will depend on how much effort that smartphone maker goes to implementing their own system. Because Monet is not fully open source, but many components of it are, OEMs can't just copy and paste Google's code and have user wallpapers generate themes on their own devices. They'll have to fill in the gaps and come up with a code for generating palettes on their own. So they could come up with their own wallpaper-based theming system, but they'd have to do a little bit of legwork. And it's up in the air. Who knows which OEMs will bother doing that. As far as we can see, Samsung hasn't done that yet with their One UI 4 beta. But we haven't really seen many other Android 12 betas yet, so we can't really tell if others will follow suit.
Interesting. All right. Well, yeah. Now I'm curious too. It would be interesting to see Samsung come out with the Android 12, and it's just kind of looks like all of their other versions. Meanwhile, you've got Android 12 on the Pixel that looks completely different from everything else because of this like marquee feature, the Material You dynamic theming. That whole aspect. So I think that's notable. Cool. Anything that we're leaving out that you think's important to mention here before we move on?
Well, besides the taskbar, there are also other UI changes that will improve the experience on foldables and big screen tablets, like the dual pane settings panel, the dual pane settings app, the dual pane notifications and quick settings, and the dual pane lock screen view. And the lock screen PIN and password input will slide to the left or right depending on where you tap on the screen to unlock the phone or to unlock the tablet. So a lot of these smaller UI changes will make the experience definitely better on big screen devices, because right now all these elements are just kind of centered and they're basically just like blown up phone UI, so they look kind of terrible on tablets and foldables.
Right. Oh, you gotta love that thing that it seems to never go away. Cool. Well, this is something to look forward to. Obviously, we're going to have to look forward to it because this is not the next version. This is the version after the next version. Kind of crazy that you have so much insight into the version coming after this version.
We can never just sit and be content with what we've got.
I know.
So
true.
So we're always looking in the future. No, it's good. It's good to know that it's coming, and it's actually, I think it's really interesting that we haven't seen a 0.1. I don't know. I don't remember the last time we saw a 0.1. I feel like Oreo. It was Oreo. Yeah, I feel that was the last time there was like a notable 0.1. So it's interesting.